But I think the world is conspiring us to fail. And there are signs everywhere that we should fail. And we have to find a path through those crazy jungles and be a pathfinder and take our team out of this jungle. So I was going to meet a friend at Copley in Boston, and I took a picture in the lobby of the elevator. I just want to find the button to call the elevator. It's telling me, in case of fire, don't take elevator. Take the stairs. Can you even find the button I should be pressing? It's in the middle, bottom, right? Eventually, I just had to take the stairs. And then I was passing by MIT Medical. It's a conspiracy. The guy has been trapped, the guy on the right. I mean, come on, get fit at MIT, and we're going to have a sign-up recruiting by serving you sugary, gooey cakes. So that's the world we live in. Now, I grew up, in a very modest family, and, I was very shy and, very introvert. I loved reading books. And when I was in third year of my college, my good friend Adish said, "Hey, Ramesh, why are you so quiet?" And I said, "Adish, but you're so funny. No matter what you say, it's just so funny. Everybody loves you, especially the girls love you." And I said, "What do you do?" He says, "Rule number 1, open your mouth before you think. and start a sentence before you know what you're going to say at the end of the sentence." And I said, "Wow, okay." And he said, "The most important is going to fail, fail, and fail. Even the prettiest girls are not going to laugh at your jokes. But you'll get there. After a few months, you'll know how to open your mouth without thinking, and you will know how to start a sentence without knowing what you're going to finish it with." And that statement has changed my life. So fast forward, I get an offer from MIT to become a tenure track faculty. And I said, I have some really crazy ideas I want to do. How about I build a camera that can see around corners beyond line of sight, right? So John is taking pictures only in the line of sight. Imagine being able to take pictures out of line of sight. And my department head says, "Ramesh, just get your tenure, do something safe, write a lot of papers, write a lot of journal papers. You know how this game works." And I said, "No, I just want to build a camera that can see around corners." And I had some ideas. I said, if I can build a camera that can be really fast, that can even see light in motion, I might be able to build it. And I have read about it. I don't know much about it, but I think I can do it. And so, I started talking to people. I talked to a lot of professors, at MIT. I talked to, Stanford Linear Accelerator people. I talked to people in Switzerland who knew about these things. And all of them said, "Yeah, Ramesh, I know you want to use really fast lasers and really fast detectors and do this amazing mathematical signal processing, computer vision theory. But can we tell you one thing? Nobody shines these crazy lasers in free space. We use them for scientific purposes, which means they shine them at samples for physics or chemistry or biology. We don't just shine them in the room." And I said, "No, that's the point. We can see around corners." So I started talking to a lot of people, and even before I joined MIT, I sent a NSF proposal. My good friend James Davis said, "Ramesh, I'll help you write an NSF proposal." And I had no clue how to write a proposal. I had barely started at MIT, and I get a call from the program manager, And he says, Ramesh, of course we have rejected your proposal. We don't understand what this idea is about. We never had a call for something like this. But let me tell you, we are going to reject it. But if you have something that seems like a more practical idea, then you should definitely send down the line. So I call up John, saying, John, what did you do? I thought you were going to help me. And he says, no, let's write a workshop paper, because workshops will support somewhat crazy ideas. So we send a workshop paper that gets rejected too. So I start my career at MIT. I ask one of the students to see maybe we can do an early experiment. And what I realized is that the idea is actually very simple. To see around corners, we just want a crazy camera that can shine light on the door. It shines into the room, shines back on the door, and back to the camera. I mean, if you can do echoes of sound, you can do echoes of light. What's the big deal? And of course, it was not going anywhere. Failure, rejections, risks, and so on. And what I realized is that my language, I was not able to articulate what I need to say. I was just not using the right language. Fortunately, Professor Munji Bhavandi, right here in chemistry, understood my language, and not just my thick Indian accent, but what I was going to say. And he kind of opened the doors, and we got started. But it really bothered me with my language, and reminds me of the time I was in Korea, and trying to enjoy street food, and I just couldn't explain to the guy behind this, the kiosk, saying I cannot eat certain kinds of meat, right? And so what I had to do was just jump behind, the counter and start cooking it myself and say, this is the one I can eat, this is the one I cannot eat, and just cook a meal for myself. So I think, sometimes we just have to just do it ourselves. And I said, okay, I'm going to hire some people who will take the risk. So I hired a postdoc, Andreas, unbelievable guy. And Andreas starts in my group as a postdoc, and we start working in Professor Bhavandi's group. We start putting things together, and so on. 3 months down the line, Andreas comes to my office and says, Ramesh, I'm quitting. It's like, what? This is such an awesome project. The government doesn't like us. Most professors don't want to help us. And he says, Ramesh, first of all, it's impossible to make it work with the lasers and detectors we have out there. And second, I have never heard any industry, any grand challenge ever come and tell us that they need a camera that can see around corners. So I can guarantee you, even if I even if I finish my postdoc here, and even if I write a paper with you, I'll get no citations because nobody else in the world is working on it. So that was difficult. So Andreas is, building the equipment, he's getting initial results, and on and on and on. And you can imagine what's going on in Andreas's head. He's a smart guy, but there are some gut-wrenching decisions you have to take in the real world, just like when you're driving on the street. When you're in, the world is conspiring for you not to park in the North End. Right? And so you can imagine, Andreas is looking at science like this all over the place. To get a faculty job, do this. To get an industry job, do that. And to get papers, do this. And none of that is fitting this stupid camera that can see around corners. So what do I do? Being a professor, we're always good at theory. We can put it in a framework, draw some diagrams, some Venn diagrams, some triangles, some 2x2 charts, and so on. So I have a really good one that you should all use. Whenever you feel you can't make it anymore, strive for 5, okay? And the strive for 5, the food groups, the food guide pyramid, 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. But this is what you have to tell yourself, Before 5 teams in the world are working on it, go for it. You have to be ahead of others by 5 years. You have to be able to explain the relevance of what you're working on is important in 5 steps. If you can tell somebody if you can tell a junior person in 5 minutes and come back in 5 months and they can do it themselves, they don't need you. So do something else. And do something that's multidisciplinary that uses at least 5 disciplines. Multidisciplinary. What do you say? right? That's try for 5. But just like most of us don't get those 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, it's okay not to follow this advice. It's fine. So we get going with our seeing around the corners camera. We start telling stories. We start writing papers. We can rescue people in hazardous conditions. We can build endoscopes. We can help self-driving cars avoid collision with what's around the bend. We are winning awards. We're writing awesome papers. Andreas gets tier 35 awards. He becomes a faculty, tenure-track faculty at University of Wisconsin. We're having too much fun. We said, let's have a little bit more fun and use all this crazy $1 million hardware we have, thanks to Professor Bhavandi and others, in some crazy way. So because we have these crazy lasers and detectors that can run at picosecond 10 to the minus 12 resolution, we can even create movies of light in motion, right? So here we're going to send a femtosecond pulse into a Coke bottle, and it passes all the way through. Most of the photons reach the cap of the bottle, they explode, and they start creating these energy fronts, light energy fronts on the table. The air at the top of the bottle, the light is bouncing around, right? And after some time, you even get reflections at the back of your bottle, because of the curvature of that. People loved it. I gave a TED talk. I think our program manager in the government agency realized we're having too much fun. So he calls me and he says, Ramesh, we have been giving so much money to you. You guys are writing papers, but this is not out there in the real world. What's going on? I said, why don't you come down to Cambridge and we'll talk about it. So he comes down and I say, hey, look at all the cool stuff you're doing. He says, yeah, but that's just academic work. What will it take? And any academic, when pushed to the corner, has one really good answer. It's like, give us the money and we'll do it. So I told the program manager, it's all a matter of money. And he said, are you sure? Is your theory solid? Are you breaking the laws of physics? And I said, no, we are fine. So he creates, he goes out there, he interviews me, he interviews my students, he takes them out to Starbucks, and he just interrogates everyone. He even goes to other universities where my students by now have become faculty members and grill them. He's convinced. He announces a $28 million program to see around corners. I was like, wow, this is cool. We're going to get millions of dollars. So we send our proposal, get a call from PM. The competing teams have won, Ramesh. Your team is not getting even $1. I was like, it's because of us. You started it. He says, your ideas are just not new. I said, come on. I'm telling you, the method to do this is the one we invented in our lab. Everybody else who's competing is submitting proposal for the sake of it. But our solution is the one that's going to win. And on top of that, we have the best theory, and we have the latest secret sauce, which is called machine learning. And none of the other teams have it. And he said, that's fine. No money for you. No soup for you. So I'm pretty disappointed. Just around the same time, I was visiting Apple and gave a talk to a room full of like this. On the way out, I saw a sign, right, that said, if you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should do something else wonderful, not dwell on it for too long, just figure out what's next. I said, maybe this is another sign that's conspiring and telling me not to work on seeing around corners anymore and just move on and do something else. I said, okay, all right, I'm going to move on and do something else. And we keep the effort going a little bit. And then about a year later, the project manager calls me. He says, you know what? None of the teams are doing something that's really that groundbreaking. And in fact, they're all converging to the solution that you guys have proposed. I said, ITY, ITY. Story ends in a good way. Now we get a ton of money, not only from the government agencies, but from everyone else. We are pretty happy. But the signs are conspiring against us. So, when you're in a crisis like that, this is how I think about it. And remember, I'm a professor, so I'm going to give you lots of slides like this. So this is the one I pull out. This is the one I created when I was going through that crisis mode. So, we had to find our path. And internally, you may be nervous, you might become aware over time, and you could become driven, very passionate. But externally, you could be resisting. This is how people might see you. This is how your professors might see you. Or you're analyzing, you're very curious, you're not sure. You're like, maybe this will work, maybe this won't. And at some point, you accept, and you move on. And internally and externally, this is how you're moving. And if you're on the bottom left, right in the beginning, you're a bit of a rebel. You just want to say, you must resign, burn down the place, I'm going to quit. But you don't know what's going to happen after that, right? But as you move up, you become a questioner. At the end, you just become a doer. And that's not a good thing either, because now you're completely aware, and you're just accepting it, and just making it happen every day. But to be a pathfinder, when all these signs say you should fail, you have to be in this band. You have to be driven, but constantly asking the questions, analyzing it, or you have to be a solver where you're aware, but you have accepted the challenge. So there's some other signs. This is a picture I took from the top of the building where I work at MIT Media Lab. Beautiful rainbow, and it's much easier to look at the rainbow and be so inspired. It's so beautiful, it's so colorful, and the rainbow says, follow me. Follow the rainbow. And that's how we see our career going forward. But come on, we know physics. The rainbow is an illusion. Don't follow the rainbow. You'll not get anywhere. The elevator, on the other hand, will take you somewhere, right? Even it has all these warning signs: fire, hazard, medical emergency. The elevator will take you there. So be careful on which signs you follow, because they're always conspiring you. They're always creating this doubt. So to all of you and the future pathfinders, thank you.